I'm Cheyenne Copeland.
I'm Audrey Ferguson.
We are part of the Troy High School FCCLA chapter, and we decided to do our project over the Franklin House. This is our table of contents.
FCCLA wanted to choose a community service project that would help local families and people in need. Domestic violence happens way more often than we would like, so we looked into the Miami County Abuse Shelter, also known as the Franklin House. They express the need for toiletry items before the holiday seasons. We set a 2-week span goal that we'd collect over 1,000 toiletry items for the Franklin House to increase awareness about the shelter. We decided that we were going to put up flyers around our school, put interviews on the morning announcements and articles in the school newspaper, and give the winning class something for bringing in so many donations. We ended up following with the plan, and we have over 1,300 students in the high school, and we collected over 1,300 items to be donated to the shelter. Mrs. Key surveyed her 3 child development classes before and after the drive. 40% knew about the shelter before the drive, and over 90 could answer the questions about the shelter after the drive.
We wanted to do a community service project that was different than what we've done in the years past. This year, as well as last year, we chose the Franklin House. The reasons why is because it's local, to increase the knowledge about the facility. Students at the high school have used it or are currently using it, and they have expressed a need for toiletry items via their website. Domestic violence is the willful intimidation, physical assault, battery, sexual assault, and other abusive behavior as part of a systematic pattern of power and control perpetrated by one intimate partner against another. It includes physical violence, sexual violence, threats, emotional and physiological abuse, and the frequency and severity of domestic violence varies dramatically. For Miami County, we have the 2018 domestic violence data because 2019 has not been released yet. There was 453 domestic violence charges. 182 of those charges were from the Troy Police Department, and the Sheriff's Office in Miami County picked up 19 more DVI cases compared to 2017. In Ohio law, domestic violence can be charged whenever there's physical harm or the attempt to cause physical harm to a family or household member. A family member is anyone you are related to as a blood relative or their spouse, and anyone who is a blood relative or spouse of anybody living inside your household. Officers are directed to make an arrest for claims of domestic violence unless under special circumstances, and according to the Ohio Bureau of Criminal Identification and Investigation, Miami County had a total of 983 domestic violence victims within 2017, and in 2018, the domestic violence victims has raised to 1,050. 309 domestic violence victims were reported by the Troy Police Department. A person convicted of domestic violence faces the following possible penalties. Additionally, if the offender knew that the victim was pregnant, the court has to impose a minimum sentence between 6 months to a year in jail. You can get a 1st to 3rd degree misdemeanor and a 5th to 3rd degree felony. The protections that are available in addition to criminal prosecution include protective orders such as temporary restraining orders, civil lawsuits to recover losses and expenses, and custody or child spousal support orders to prevent any further incidents of violence.
Franklin House research. A woman named Barbara Atkins started the Franklin House in 1979. She was the sheriff in Miami County and saw how they had to keep victims in temporary jail for their protection. So she added new services. She opened up the Franklin House for a better solution. She also added new services such as counseling and traditional housing. The Franklin House provides emergency shelter assistance for any woman or man with or without children. It's a safe shelter for people of domestic violence, assault, human trafficking, and homeless individuals and families. The Franklin House is relocating from 16 East Franklin Street to 530 Crescent Drive in Troy. It will increase shelter space for women and children, going from 26 beds to 40 beds. Will improve services for older people and disability people. It was going to open the spring of 2020, but due to Corona, it is currently not opening yet, and it will no longer be Franklin House when it's moved.
Our project goal was from October 29th to November 9th that we would collect 1,000 toiletry items for the Franklin House and increase the knowledge of the house. Our target audience was the Troy High School.
Why help the Franklin House? Have you ever heard of the Franklin House here in Troy? The Franklin House is the family abuse shelter for Miami County, as well as a temporary homeless shelter. The shelter is open 24/7 and runs mostly on donations. The shelter provides court-based advocacy, counseling, and support for anyone that's a victim of domestic violence, abuse, human trafficking, and homeless individuals and families. I personally dealt with my own version of domestic violence and found myself homeless. Luckily, I did not have to use the shelter thanks to a couple from my church, but I know other high school kids who do have to use and stay at the Franklin House and benefit from the shelter services. The shelter is currently in need of toiletry items such as toothbrushes, toothpaste, soap, shampoo, and anything that can be helpful to the homeless people who had to use the Franklin House as a last resort. I know personally I would appreciate if you can make a donation. A lot of other people would too.
This is our drive flyer, and that's Audrey hanging them in the hallways. For our partnerships, we partnered with Officer Tilley of the Troy Police Department, and he said that in an emergency situation, you can call 911. They notify the Franklin House of your arrival, and they can even give you a ride there if needed. And Barbara Holman, who is the executive director and daughter of the founder, the house is staffed 24/7. They have a buzzer in order to enter, as well as security cameras, and it's right across the street from the police station.
We decided to host the drive in October because of Domestic Violence Awareness Month. We also wanted to give the class that brought the most things in donuts as a prize to help bring more donation, and that's a picture of the minutes from our meeting.
For our media involvement, we had the broadcasting class make commercials and do a segment on the results. Our newspaper interviewed our advisor and a couple members about the drive. Our Facebook page promoted the drive and showed the results to the community. And every FCCLA member promoted the drive through their own social media. This is our broadcasting on the morning announcements. This is a newspaper article I wrote. And that's the email that our advisors sent to the entire Troy staff, and the administration put it on our Facebook page.
Just a few of many donations that were collected.
We have about 1,300 students, and we collected over 1,300 items. Mrs. Kleinhens, our Teacher Academy teacher, won first place this year as well as last year. And Mrs. Ernthausen, our World Studies teacher, came in second. 100% of our members want to do this again, and pictured as one of the classes that participated this year.
All the donations from the drive and a picture of us dropping it off.
This was our thank you letter from the Franklin House showing our appreciation.
Various members have chosen to commit to the shelter in many ways outside of this drive. You can go help watch children, wrap gifts for the holidays, provide entertainments for the house members, among a lot of other things. Any loving personality makes a difference in the lives of these people and in our community.
Our project relates to careers and FCS courses. The possible careers would be social worker, law enforcement, counselors, leadership positions within the community. And our FCS courses we have at the high school include college and career readiness courses and child development course.
By doing this project, it's really encouraged me to do criminal justice as my major in college for 2020.